How do you share with a new partner that you have anxiety, that you're triggered, or that you're going through something? Now, it's the $1,000,000 question. It's one that people ask every day. Should I tell the person that I'm dating that I have anxious attachment? Should I talk about my anxiety early on? Do I let them know when something triggers me? Do I bring my partner into this? I'm in a relationship now. How do I navigate it? All really valid questions. Now, today, I'm going to take the time to answer one question that somebody wrote in. So I have something called In the Trenches and the Sabrina Zohar Show, my podcast. And I answer questions that you guys write in, profile audits. If you guys want more, go check it out. But today, here's the question. I was wondering how to appropriately share when I'm feeling anxious to my partner. I've been working really hard to internalize and smooth myself when it comes to my relationship-based anxiety. My partner wants me to share when I'm feeling anxious, but I don't want to overshare or burden with those anxieties when they are, more often or not based on reality and are based on my personal fears and nothing my partner is actually doing. What is a good way to share my anxiety, my journey to self-healing to an open partner who just wants to understand where I'm coming from? And that's a really valid question. And I understand the trepidation and trying to understand how much do I share versus how much do I internally take care of. Now, again, there's no tried and true. There's no one answer that's going to fit for everybody. But I think what's really important is the first thing we need to do before we share anything with our partner, before we tell anybody what we're going through, we need to understand it ourselves. And that is where the power of the pause really starts to take place. I know that I have a more avoidant leaning partner and I have some more anxiety. Hi, nice to meet you in case you haven't met me yet. And when we first met, I was constantly vacillating between how much do I share, how much do I keep? What do I talk to him about versus what do I handle myself? And it's going to be a balancing act as you get to know this person because you're going to start to learn yourself and understand yourself. But the number one thing that we need to do before we can do any of that is taking a pause. And the reason we need to take a pause is to stop and ask ourselves, well, wait a minute, what's coming up in my body? So an example I'll give is when my partner and I first started dating and we moved in together, there was a time where I asked him and I said, do you want to do something this weekend? And he said, no. Or something I said, like, do you want to go do this on Friday? And he said, no, and walked away. And I got instantly triggered. I could feel the warmth all around my body. I could feel my brain going 1,000 miles an hour. I didn't know what to do. And in my head, I'm like, okay, well, he didn't do anything wrong. I can consciously see that. But then there was another part of me saying, but I feel really dismissed and I didn't love that. And the old knee-jerk reaction would have been, well, what the fuck do you mean? What are you talking about? Why aren't you paying attention, right? To attack or to go really hard in the anxiety. And I know all that would have done was make my partner shut down. I don't care how secure the person is. Nobody wants to be attacked when somebody else is going through something. And so instead I paused. I took a minute to understand, well, wait a minute, what's happening in my body? Where do I feel this discomfort? What's coming up for me? Am I seeing this accurately for what it is? Or does this feel like familiar or a past trauma or something that's trying to act out right now in the current situation? And the reason that it's so important to even just stop and ask yourself, where do I feel this in my body? Is so that we can be present with the emotions, right? We hear like, why don't I feel better? It's like, well, I'm not feeling. I need you to first start by feeling and being in your body and being present to, wow, I feel like heart palpitations or feel so heavy in my chest. Oh, wow, this does feel familiar. And as I sat with that feeling, it was all of 2 minutes, I started to process what is really coming up for me. And I started feeling, I feel dismissed. I feel like he's putting me down. And I said, okay, does that factually and accurately depict the situation right now? And because I'm self-aware, I could stop and say, no, Sabrina, all your partner said was no. And that doesn't mean that he was attacking you or dismissing you. I said, but it really feels like my dad. It felt like my father. All these years, he would just go and make a noise, and that would just be it. He would just dismiss you within seconds, and you were just like stuck there with your dick in your hand, just being like, I don't know what to do right now. And so when my partner came back in the room, I regulated for a second. I acknowledged, okay, this reminds me of my father. Well, what is it that I needed in that moment? And what I needed in that moment was just a little bit more support from my partner. It didn't mean that he was doing anything right or wrong. I just needed a different verbiage or a different word used in that time. So when he came back, the first thing I did when you're going to start to talk to your partner or anyone that you're dating is ask for consent. Hey, can I share something with you right now? You want to make sure that this person's in the fucking headspace to deal with whatever you're coming with and to give them a fair shot to be like, babe, I'm literally in the middle of something. Give me 2 minutes and then I'm all yours. That way we don't have resentment build. They're not trying to do 3 things at once while you're sitting there trying to talk to them, and you feel seen, heard, understood, and safe. And then the next thing I did was I kind of sandwich it, right? Can I ask, hey, can I share something with you? Ask for consent, disarm them. Then I started with something positive. I want you to know you didn't do anything wrong, but I wanted to share that when you said no a moment ago, it really triggered something inside of me. And again, not making this your issue, but it reminded me of my father. And growing up, it felt so dismissed. He had so callous and cold with the way that he would say no. And I'm not asking you to change anything, but moving forward, could you even just say maybe no, but how about another day? or offer me a little bit something more. And what I did was I clearly articulated what bothered me. I didn't blame and shame or anybody. I didn't put it on my partner. I didn't project onto him. I didn't call him any names. And then I very clearly asked for what it was that I needed. And what did my partner do? He completely validated the experience. And he was like, oh my goodness, I am so sorry. I never, ever would have wanted you to feel that. And he was like, that makes so much sense. Thank you for sharing with me that that's what triggered you. Absolutely. Moving forward, instead of just saying no, next time I'll explain a little bit more or tell you maybe another night or gave you a different answer. And to this day, we have never had an issue like that again because I was very clear about my needs, and my partner cares about me and loves me and wants to support me in the ways that he can took that information of, oh, thank you. So when you're sharing it with your partner, that's why it's so important to understand it yourself, to be able to stop and say, wait a minute, do I need to share this? Because there are times where something will come up, it might trigger me, and instead of contacting my partner or letting him know, maybe I call my mom, maybe I call my friends, maybe I journal it out, maybe I just sit with it myself. Then once I'm done, my thought process here is this going to help my partner to love me any differently and any better? Is this going to help the depth and the quality of our relationship? So what I really want you to be able to take away from this isn't that you have to speak in a very specific tone. It doesn't mean that you have to say things exactly like this in order for this to be the right result. But really what I want you guys to sit with is this going to help my partner understand anything differently about me? And if your answer is no, my partner literally didn't do anything. They had every right to say that they didn't want to do something and walk out. Maybe then it's just me sitting with, okay, where is this coming from? What's coming up for me? And how can I self-soothe? Versus when my partner had said no, I knew it was probably going to happen again. He was going to be human, and maybe that interaction would happen. And instead of resentment building and instead of staying silent, I acknowledged that I had needs. And I acknowledged that it's important for my partner to understand, hey, this is where that trigger comes from. That way it's, oh, shit, wow, that makes so much sense. I can't tell you how many friends I've now told stories to that will say, man, I never understood what made you so anxious or where that came from. But now that you explained it, it makes total sense that would be really triggering for you. And now I know how I can support you a little bit differently and be there for you in a different way. And so I think it's really taking a moment. It's really being in your own body. And maybe that means going to the bathroom and splashing your face with cold water or grabbing a couple of ice cubes and holding on to them to regulate, to come back to the present moment. Maybe that means taking a walk and just going around for a couple of minutes and just taking a minute to process, to use a different part of your brain, to acclimate yourself back to the present moment so that you can be really present in your body when you're sharing it with them. Because if you, like Rachel asked, if you have a partner that is really, really eager and curious to learn about you, that's really beautiful. But we want to know what's important to share versus every time they say something and you're like, well, I was triggered again. It's like, that's where we have to stop and go, well, first of all, is that a trigger, right? Neutral action or inaction. And second of all, have I processed through these triggers? Have I actually allowed myself to feel through them? Or is every little thing I do constantly bringing me back to a different place? There's nothing wrong with you if that's the case. It's just about being more aware of, okay, some things are important to share and other things might not be as important to my partner. But if I have somebody that cares and really genuinely wants to learn how to love me, then it's really important for me to understand and give them a roadmap and rubric of how to love me. And so I think that's why the pause is so important. And if you could just be for a second, ask yourself, how old do I feel? What age is this coming from? That way, when you do articulate to your partner or the person that you're dating what's coming up for you, it's coming from a place of clarity and empowerment. Now, the caveat to this is we don't share shit like this after 1 or 2 dates. We don't go after a guy didn't text you for a day and start telling him, well, I was really triggered and this is where that trigger came from. No. That's not where this feels appropriate. You have to earn trust and vulnerability and transparency over time. But if you have an eager person that you're dating that says, please let me know when things like this come up, then do what they're asking and be honest about it so that you guys can talk about it, you share it, you process through it, and then you move on with your fucking day. And if you guys need more, there is the Sabrina Zohar Show, the podcast right here on YouTube or on Spotify and Apple you can watch or listen to. We've got the foundation course, the breakup course, the nervous system course, the self-love course is coming out soon. And we've got whatever you need. So check it out at sabrinazohar.com. And thank you guys so much for sitting with me.